Hi guys, it's October here. I'm your Tuesday's host for Planet Pathlings. I'm coming to you today to talk about the topic of totem animals and spirit animals, the differences between them and are they the same, and also how do you come about to know which is which, how do you kind of figure it out or discover it. So as you can see here, the picture in front of you, there is three animals. Well, there is a bird and two insects. One is a butterfly and one is a moth. Now this one here, here is an artistic representation of a raven. And to me, I believe that the raven is my totem animal. Now, even before I kind of figured out the spiritual side of things, I always had a strong affinity with birds anyway, and three in particular. One was the raven, one was the crow, and the other one was the white-tailed or white-tipped sea eagle. Now I would like to put a representation of the sea eagle on my altar, but I'm yet to find a picture that I'm happy with. So the raven, I believe, is my totem animal. Now the totem animal came about as in, I believe the totem animal was with me from before I even knew what a totem animal was. As in, my personal belief is that a totem animal is an animal that you are drawn to, you have a connection with. Sometimes people are born with a connection with a particular animal or bird or insect or anything like that, and they have an affinity and draw and pull towards that animal from a younger age, or from sometimes even before they are following a spiritual path. They have an affinity and a connection with said animal or bird or insect or whatever, which I believe is the case with me. Now, most people will know that my path is the Celtic path, and that the raven has got a strong connection with regards to that path between one thing and another. But for me, as I have only been on my Celtic path several years, I don't think it's any coincidence, number one, that the raven is my totem animal out of a couple, and number two, knowing what my path is now, it makes a lot of sense. I was very drawn to particular animals and birds from a young age. I grew up beside the sea, and therefore certain animals were more known and more widely seen. Now, ravens were not very commonly seen where I lived, but for some reason I kept coming across them, or they kept coming across me. I saw many different birds, but the two that I kept coming into my space, if you will, or when I was going out for walks or whatever when I was younger, were the raven, and when I was certain places I would see the white-tailed seagull or white-tipped seagull. Now, in the northeast coast of Scotland where I grew up, I didn't see them a lot. They were more commonly noticed in certain spots, and a lot of people used to say, you'd be hard pushed to find a sighting of one round about the area I was in. But I was very fortunate and had a couple of sightings when I was younger and as I've got older as well, which to me I felt kind of blessed that I had been honoured to see that. One prime example was when my son was little. I used to go to the Isle of Skye, and I remember we were sitting outside this fish and chip shop and my son was eating chips, and I mean, you could say that the bird was drawn by people eating food. Obviously that could be part of the reason, but I remember I was sitting there and I just heard somebody go, "Whoa, whoa, did you see that?" And as I turned, there was this humongous white-tailed sea eagle that had flown right over the top of where we were and over the top of this car. Like, I could see it clearly, but it got spooked, and it kind of flew down towards where the water was. And it wasn't until it settled and I saw it properly, I was like, holy crap! It was a big fella. So those little things, those little experiences have stayed with me, and since some of the sightings of those eagles, I have had a real passion for them, a real love for them, a real infinity for them, a real pull towards them, so much so that I did a small falconry course about 5 or 6 years ago, where I worked with various different birds of prey, but I was fortunate enough to be blessed to work with a young sea eagle who was really cute and lovely, but also you had to have a lot of respect for her because she was quite big for a young thing. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times a totem animal is something that kind of can be with you from early on. You can be really drawn to this animal or this bird or this insect. You can see them around a lot, you're drawn to them, you have an affinity with them, you share certain traits, characteristics in your own personality, for example. And to me, that's my explanation of what a totem animal is. So my totem animal has been several things. The raven has been with me from a young age. The white-tailed sea eagle, again, from a certain age when I was younger. But I did, around my early 20s, leading up to not that long ago, probably maybe 4.5 years ago, that I was always drawn towards wolves. Now, wolves still stay with me, but I think that some animals, this is the next part of the topic I'm going to come into, can be your spirit animals. And those animals and birds and insects come to you at a particular time in your life. Sometimes it's to teach you something, you may be going through some changes, it's maybe to irk a change within you, it's maybe to help you go through a particular thing, it is maybe to kick you up the butt to help you go through a certain thing and a certain change or whatever. And I think in those respects, this here, where am I? Where's the camera? Here. Where is it? This one? I'm just double checking because they look so similar. I'm trying to find the camera. Where's the camera? This one here is a moth, and not particularly this type of moth. That type of moth jumped out at me because I have a bit of a colour thing when it comes to what goes on my Morrigan's altar, and that tends to be white, black and red. So those physical artistic representations of said butterfly and moth, that's how they came to be the particular ones that I chose to go on my Morrigan altar. Now, the moth for me started becoming really prominent a few years ago, and I was seeing them everywhere. I mean, they were, and I'm not talking itty bitty little wee things. In Scotland we get, I think they're called bull moths. They're big bad boys and they're big fluffy guys, big furry things, and they're so cute. But anyway, they were popping up all over the place, and I'm thinking, why are all these moths suddenly come to be? I mean, I always loved moths, but not to the point where they were appearing all over the place to the point they were. I was getting big, massive bull moths, and they were everywhere. They were coming in the house. I went outside, and they were there, like in my back garden. They were there, to the point. I remember talking to a few people about it. It's like they were coming about everywhere. And then, not that very long ago, one came in and it looked poorly, so I got a little jar and put some like soft tissue stuff in there, and what else did I put in? A little thing with sugary water, just enough so it couldn't like fall in it and drown or something like that. And then a little, it's one of the battery operated tea lights to emanate light and warmth. And when I left it, it was looking really sorry for itself, it was looking really tired, and I put it somewhere to make sure my cat Aki didn't like think it was something to eat. Put it out of the road, but also nearby somewhere where it could fly out of a window if it felt better and, you know, felt the air coming from outside and wanted to go out if it felt well. So I got up in the morning to come down to see how it was, and there was no sign. I think I've got it on my Facebook somewhere, and it was well, and it had gone, and I was like, oh yes, it's. I didn't see it lying around anywhere. I put it somewhere where Aki could not get to it, so I'm presuming, can only presume, that it got well and flew out the window. So for me, the moth was something that I felt may be a spirit animal, as opposed to a totem animal, because I've not been in tune with moths from a young age, or even like, well, so many years ago. So to me anyway, I think that was telling me certain things were happening, changes were happening, certain changes had to happen, there was a lot going on, and it started to all click and make sense. I was doing a lot of shadow work and reflection work, so it was all fitted together. So I think how I would say you would know the differences. Your totem animal, like I say, you tend to have an affinity with it. You're tuned into that animal or bird or insect or whatever, and not all the time, but the majority of the time. Regards your spirit animal, the spirit animal quite often comes in at a time in your life where it's needed. I'm only speaking for myself, so I don't know other people's experiences, but I would say that's the difference between spirit and totem animal. Regards how you go about it, well, I didn't try to tune into anything regards that. It just kind of happened. The raven had been with me for a long time, so had the seagull, and in some cases the wolf, and then over a certain period of time went past, and then so many years ago the moth started coming into the forefront. Now regards the butterfly I've got there, the butterfly, to me, I have put on there because I believe that my son's totem animal is the butterfly. Now my son is autistic, and from a young age he had to go through particular changes, and there is similarities to the butterfly and the moth regards changes, etc., transformation, etc. But to me, he had a thing about butterflies from a young age. He would see a butterfly and he would go, oh, fluff a fly, fluff a fly. And he would point and he would touch, and he would used to take him to Butterfly World, and he'd be in awe of all the butterflies and really loved them. He had loads of books on them, and he still has them, but he's not quite as fascinated with them as he used to be, although he does still like butterflies. But that may be because he's reached a certain point on the journey of his life. You know, when he was younger, he was having to adapt to a lot of things that was going on in his life, a lot of day-to-day changes, which makes sense more for the butterfly than like with me with the moth. There was things going on in his everyday life during the day where he was having to change, for example, being at home with me and going to parent and toddler groups, and then having to go to a special needs nursery in the morning, and then again that transitioning from him being in the morning to having to go to his morning placement in the same building, and then his nursery placement in the afternoon. So he was then away from me from the morning until sort of 3:30 or something in the afternoon. So he was going through some changes as well. So I think the butterfly went hand in hand with him, especially when he was younger, because of certain things to do with that. So I would say that I can't advise on how best to go about things, because I'm just talking about what happened to me. But I think a lot of times you have an instinct. Trust your gut, trust your intuition and your instinct, and you should kind of get a feel for an animal or a bird or a insect that you're instinctively drawn to. Some of you out there may already have that feeling about particular things, and some may not. You know, don't overthink a thing, don't over worry about a thing. These things tend to happen, and if you get any signs and signals, just go with your gut and go with your feelings and go with your intuition, and you can't go wrong. So that's what I would say. So that is my little take on totem animals and spirit animals, and a little bit about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Lots of love and blessed be. Bye.